All right, and welcome into BP NFL Live Week 17 edition. Over roughly the next 30 minutes, we're going to preview each game to be played here on Sunday, giving you our best bets along the way. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and I'm joined by Andrew Erickson, aka The Undertaker. Happy Week 17, brother. How's the weekend been as we approach what should be a wild Sunday of NFL football?
Well, Trey McBride finally found the end zone. So I was very, very happy about that on Saturday night. A lot of really fun games after the Patriots-Chargers debacle.
Yes.
If you want to call it that. The over did hit in that game, though. So I'm feeling good so far. Profitable on the Saturday slate and looking to carry it over into Sunday. I know that there's 8 games on the main card plus the 9th game on Sunday Night Football. But this Dolphins-Browns game, is this really a football? I'm so happy that it is going on the same time as Green Bay and Minnesota, which to me is like the game of the week. So it's like no need to pay attention to this game with a total that is now at, I think the last time I checked was like 33.5 points.
Yes.
Seth, you were way ahead of the curve here. I think you alted at like 40.5 points and good on you, man. Like you were ahead of the curve here. So hopefully those that checked out the podcast this week tailed you on the under on the Browns and Dolphins because you got that CLV, baby. So
yes, sir.
I love that.
Yes, sir. What do you always say in these gross games? Bet the under and walk away. So that's what we're doing here in this one. Vibes are high for me as well here at Erickson. Went to Permani Brothers yesterday out while doing some after Christmas shopping and got to watch the Chargers take down the Patriots, one of my favorite ATS plays of the week. So everything is going very well heading into Sunday. So hopefully it doesn't just flip on its head because that's usually how these things go for us. But if you are joining us here on YouTube and you enjoy this type of content, please like this video if you enjoy it. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We appreciate it very much. Looks like we got Jimmy and Ian hanging out with us in the chat already. Ian needing some underdog props. We got you covered, Ian. Don't you worry about it, man. And before we jump in, I did want to remind everyone that if you want a chance to win a signed Lawrence Taylor New York Giants jersey for free, courtesy of our friends over at pristineaction.com, all you need to do is head to bettingpros.com/contest and complete the form. And by doing either A, downloading the Betting Pros app, B, leaving a review for the Betting Pros podcast, or C, subscribe to our social media channels at Betting Pros on X, TikTok, and at Betting Pros NFL on Instagram. The more actions you complete, the more entries you're going to receive. So we'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel. Make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. All right, and let's jump right into it with the 1 o'clock games, Erickson. The New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. Everyone should be up for this game, although we're hearing some rumors that Garrett Wilson not too happy with this organization as a whole. How are you thinking this one plays out in Orchard Park at 1 o'clock?
Under. That's how I want this game to play out, in the under capacity. I think that it's probably too many points with the Jets. At 10 points.
Yeah.
Look, Buffalo, what do they have to play for here? I think that they're not going to get the number 1 seed. We know the Chiefs are going to get that. All they have to do is win either this week or next week against the Patriots to lock up the number 2 seed, I believe. So I don't know if their motivation is, hey, let's just destroy the Jets. I think it's, hey, let's just get a win and rest our guys in week 18. So we know the Jets like to play slow offensively. I think the Bills are just more than happy to hey, let's get up, just win the game. I think we're also seeing weather in this game as well. Again, just so many weather games here in late December. So 45.5 points. This is it was a 46.5 when I put it into the sheet as a best bet, but I just don't see a scenario where this game is a shootout in any capacity. Again, winds up to 17 miles per hour, rain again in the forecast. So for me, again, when these teams played earlier this year, the closing line was at 42 points.
Right.
What has really, I guess you could say the Jets offense is playing better than it was earlier in the year. Yeah. The over did hit in that game, so it was 43, the total score, but 46.5, 45.5 points seems a lot for me. Divisional game, teams playing a little bit tighter, familiar opponents, so I like the under here.
Okay, I also think you like some props here, specifically Breece Hall and Devontae Adams for the Jets. What are you thinking over there?
Oh, yeah. So Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown, he's catching a touchdown today. His next Aaron Rodgers' 500th touchdown pass will be his next in the regular season. It's not going to Garrett Wilson, folks. I'm sorry. Sorry for those. Not going to Garrett Wilson. It's going to Devontae. That's who wants to catch it. So they're going to be jamming Devontae Adams targets like they've done the last couple of weeks. So I like his anytime touchdown odds. And then with Breece Hall, the Bills are a defense you continue to attack through the air with running backs in the passing game. So I like Breece Hall going over his receiving yards prop over 23.5 receiving yards. He hit this last week when he had his full-time role. He hit 56 receiving yards last time he played the Buffalo Bills earlier this season. And negative game script, you're expecting, okay, the Jets are going to be throwing. And that's when we've seen Breece Hall involved the most as a receiver out of the backfield. So I like the over on Breece Hall as one of my prop bets for this week.
Yeah, I actually think I might have to jump on that Devontae Adams touchdown because he's really feels like he's only playing in this game to specifically catch that touchdown. Like we heard reports that he wasn't feeling great, wasn't going to be up, and now he is playing. And I think it's specifically because that. Sticking with the Jets here on some of my favorite props, I like Aaron Rodgers over 219.5 passing yards. This is minus 125 at DraftKings. I think this is a great play specifically because the Bills have allowed the most passing yards in the NFL over the past month, 292 yards per game. 3 out of 4 of the last quarterbacks they faced have hit this number. Guys like Drake May, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, like not world-beating quarterbacks by any means. They've also allowed 6 of the last 7 quarterbacks to throw multiple scores. So I think Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 touchdowns plus 165 at Bet365. That's on my card as well. Just a little sprinkle on that number. Aaron Rodgers has hit this passing yard line in 3 straight games. He's also thrown for multiple scores in 3 of the last 4 games. When he faced the Bills earlier this year, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that was without Devontae Adams. So as you mentioned, the only concern I think for Rodgers props is the weather, right? The wind's going to be picking up. The rain could also be in the forecast, but only about a 40% chance of precipitation by kickoff up there in Orchard Park. So we're liking the total under, but it looks like we are on some Jets player props here.
Yes. Yeah, because I think the Jets will be throwing in this game inevitably. And hey, you only need just 7 points, still not going to get this game over the total.
Yeah.
But we can get 1 touchdown from Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. Hopefully Brick Johnson is happy with the result, or he might be making some changes to that team. Let's go ahead. Let's move to Tennessee at Jacksonville. This is a really interesting game from a point that I don't know how many people are going to watch it, really. Like, this is kind of the Mason Rudolph versus Mac Jones Bowl. I don't know who's really trying to get invested in here. Tony Pollard out, Nick Folk out for the Titans. Tyler Boyd also questionable. So do you see any value with Jacksonville currently favored or currently underdogs by a point and a half? The books are kind of everywhere on this line. We're also seeing the total right around 37.5. Do you like this game from that perspective, or really just a player props perspective here?
I like the Jaguars here. I know you said it's really hard to say like who is actually favored in this game, right?
Yeah,
like you're looking, it's like sometimes you get. I mean, it's essentially a pick 'em because the best line you can get is Titans plus 1.5. What I'm looking at, and you can also get the Jaguars +1. So again, Jaguars are playing at home, so I do give them the slight lean as the favorite team. And I just look at these teams in aggregate, right? The Titans have been the worst team against the spread this season, like by far. And the Jaguars, you look up, they're actually been okay against the spread.
Mm-hmm.
A mediocre record, not. But to me, that just tells you that this team at least meets expectations half the time. The Titans never meet the expectations that's put on by the market. They always fail. And this is a spot where, like, hey, maybe the Titans can win this game. That's what the market's kind of telling us by these lines.
Mm-hmm.
I have no faith that the Titans are going to win this game. Yeah, like you said, Tony Pollard is out of this game. They are terrible on the road. The Tennessee Titans are. So again, in a coin flip matchup, I'm just going to take the team that's been a little bit more consistent this year. I want to take the team with the best players, who, in my opinion, Brian Thomas Jr., best player playing on offense. I mean, Mac Jones versus Mason Rudolph. Mac Jones is probably a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph is, okay? And I get the Titans defense has also been terrible too. I think that the Jaguars can run the ball a little bit more with Tank Bigsby. And we already saw this matchup earlier this year. It was gross, but the Jaguars won 10-6. So I will take the Jaguars here on the money line or whatever best number you can get. Because I think they're going to win this game and what it's probably going to be kind of gross, but I do like the Jaguars here. If anything, I think there was some concern about weather earlier, but I'm looking now and it looks like it's okay. And again, it's in Florida, so it's usually like warm or it's like rainy condition. It rains. Okay, it's Florida, right? It always rains at some point, but it's not cold weather. So I actually think that the total where it's at like
37.5. Yeah.
Like, I thought I liked the over at like 40 points, honestly, because like these defenses have been terrible. So again, explosive playmakers on both sides, kind of a sneaky spot for the over. So maybe some fantasy points here as well.
Okay, let's look at the Raiders going to the Saints. This is a game I am also on the under of this one, 39.5 points. I think it's a beautiful spot if you wanna play that under. Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave all out. Olave was practicing all week, but I think they're just like, all right, season's over. We're not going to risk it at this point. MVS also questionable, so maybe no downfield bombs from Spencer Rattler. Also, we got Aiden O'Connell going for the Raiders. Saints have scored under this total 2 straight games without Carr, 4 dating back to when they had Carr. Raiders have hit this under in 4 straight games since losing Gardner Minshew. So I'm on the under here. Do you like the under as well? I think you also have a Trey Tucker under reception total out there.
Yeah, I like the under on Trey Tucker, under 2.5 receptions. He just doesn't get involved a lot in this offense. Like he's like the 4th or 5th option behind Bowers, behind Myers, even behind the running backs. So I did like the Raiders here originally, money line, but then we got this news about this whole plane fiasco where the Raiders didn't leave to go to New Orleans till like last night. And so look, this is classic case of like West Coast team going to East Coast, doesn't show up in the first half. There are other games to bet this week than Raiders and Saints. Yeah. Like that's kind of the way I'm. So
don't do it to yourself.
I thought the Raiders had some value earlier in the week, especially when they were laying point. I mean, you could have got Raiders like plus 2.5.
Oh wow!
Earlier in the week before the Saints game on Monday Night Football. So now it just seems like I'm kind of like chasing something that I ultimately like. Again, this could be a coin flip game. Really, it's 2 bad teams, and the fact that this plane thing happened, I'm shying away from here. I just take the unders. The only over I like was Brock Bowers. I think they're going to feed him receptions. I like the receptions prop because he can break the rookie receptions record. And the thing is, it's not like, he breaks the record and then he can just stop, because Malik Neighbors also trying to break that same record.
Right.
So they have all the incentive, again, as the Raiders team that's not playing for playoff berth in any shape or form. Let's get Brock Bowers. Let's lock in his rookie record. So I could see him getting like 10 catches in this game. So his prop is 6.5 receptions. I'll take the over. And that also correlates well with the under on Trey Tucker going under 2.5 catches.
Okay, let's move on to Carolina Panthers, who are traveling down to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. You originally, on the BP NFL show this week, you liked the Panthers, who were getting 8.5 points. Now they're getting 10 points. Do you still like them here, though, Erickson? Because Chuba Hubbard out on IR with a knee injury. Xavier Legette also questionable. So are you still feeling as confident with Carolina here, who's had to run a lot of plays on 4th down to manufacture drives that have resulted in touchdowns? Do you like them with their best player on offense out still?
Yes. I just, maybe I'm like just reading this so wrong. I mean, I think the Panthers can win this game. I don't know. Like, am I crazy? I must be crazy, but I don't know. I mean,
I believed it until Chuba. Chuba scares me.
Seth, running backs don't matter. Come on. Stop.
Dude, he's their offense though, right?
I don't care. You throw on the Bucks. That's how you beat them. You throw on the Bucks. They got Adam Thielen. They got Legette. They got Jalen Coker, our favorite rookie wide receiver.
Yeah.
No, this is easy. Block of the week. Panthers.
Okay.
10. And honestly, like, I mean, I might bet the Panthers money line. I mean, these teams went over. These teams went into overtime together a couple weeks ago, and the Panthers almost won. And now it's 10 points against the Buccaneers on the road. Like, oh, Tampa Bay, it's a tough place to play. No, it's not. So, I mean, look, I think the 10 is obviously locking it in, but I don't know. As Terrell likes to say, you always got to sprinkle some money line on your dogs. So.
Yeah. I had a friend text me last night, like, should I play Jalen Coker in my fantasy championship? I'm like, don't be hitting me with fantasy championship questions that have something to do with Jalen Coker. Like, that's a lose-lose for me as an analyst. Like, how can I give any advice there? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough sledding.
It's tough.
Before we keep going, I did want to remind everyone about the BettingPros prop betting cheat sheet. You can maximize your prop betting success with the BP prop bet cheat sheet. Instantly compare sportsbooks lines with expert projections to find the best value. Customize your bets by filtering props, matchup, odds, bet type, ensuring that you are only seeing the most profitable opportunities. I use this every single week. I hope you guys are using it as well. If you aren't by now, please make sure you head over there to bettingpros.com/props or on the Betting Pros sports betting app to take advantage of this great tool. It helps us every single week here when we're picking our props for this show and all the shows we're doing. Let's go ahead, though. Let's move to Dallas and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm seeing here in the chat that Pat is saying the weather is beautiful in Philly right now. Might be flirting with the over of 38 points. Don't mind that play, Pat. I think that might be sharp. I'm only about 2 hours from Philly myself. It's about 50 degrees. It feels like a spring day out here, feeling great. But we do have no CeeDee Lamb, no Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Tolbert currently questionable. So how do you see this game shaking out here, Erickson?
I think it's going to be kind of gross. I think it's going to be a game with 2 backup quarterbacks playing head-to-head against defenses that know each other very, very well. That's why like one of my props for this is Cooper Rush under 194.5 passing yards. He threw for I'm gonna check my notes here. 45 yards the last time we played the Eagles. So
Woo!
that is way under 194.5 yards. Yeah, and there's no CD Lamb, and that was with CD Lamb playing in the game. So I think that the Eagles defense is going to have to show up even bigger here without Jalen Hurts playing.
Yep.
And I expect this to be a dogfight. So I get the overplay based on the fact that it's such a low number. But if it's not Saquon Barkley ripping off these massive runs against the Dallas run defense,
Right.
I think this is probably going to be on the lower sky. And you're expecting a lower scoring game just based on what the line is set at anyway.
Mhm.
So I'm taking the under on Cooper Rush passing yards, down his weapons. And only 2 quarterbacks have gone over their passing yards projection against the Cowboys. One was against the Eagles.
Mhm.
Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson. Cooper
Okay.
Rush is not those guys. Like, come on.
Really?
Like,
Really?
no, he is he's not.
You're fading a quarterback here. I'm also going to fade the other quarterback, Kenny Pickett, over 0.5 receptions or interceptions, minus 115 at Bet365. This is perhaps my favorite prop of the entire season. And it's not just because I'm a bitter Steelers fan. Cowboys have picked off a quarterback in 7 straight games. That includes Jalen Hurts when they faced him and the Eagles back in week 10. Kenny Pickett, he threw for a pick last week in just 24 attempts, and he's thrown as many touchdowns as interceptions throughout his career. So Kenny Pickett, over 0.5 interceptions. Lock it in, baby. That's my favorite play of the week.
Kenny Pickett, baby. He's gonna feed AJ Brown. That is one thing that is going to. I mean, AJ Brown, 60% target share. 60%. That's not even like he had 18 targets. That's like more than he's had in the Jalen Hurts' last 6 games with AJ Brown. So fantasy managers, please do not bench AJB. He is going to see a boatload of targets. But that probably means he will throw an interception as well. So I do like this call here, Seth.
Let's go ahead and let's move forward to the Indianapolis Colts at the New York Giants. Anthony Richardson rolled out. Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors are in and active. I liked the Colts earlier this week at minus 7.5. I still do. Giants currently 4-11 ATS this season, 2-7 ATS at home. Colts do have a shot to make the playoffs now after that win from the Bengals last week. The Giants defense has allowed the second most rushing yards this season and at a 4.8 yards per carry clip. I also like JT going over 22.5 rushing attempts. You can actually get JT's rushing attempts at 20.5 at FanDuel right now, which I think that's an absolute smash. The game script would tell us and suggest that the Colts are going to run the ball to kind of salt out the clock in the second half. No Anthony Richardson to steal some of that volume from JT on the ground. He's had 25, 22, 29 carries in the past 3 weeks. So I'm going JT over 22.5 rushing attempts and the Colts minus 7.5. What do you think about it? And do you have any dogs in this fight?
So this one I'm looking at because I'm for Splash Sports, I do like you have to pick against the spread, 6 picks every single week. And the Colts game is what I'm looking at. And the thing that's interesting about it is like you don't work Western with the most live lines. So you're looking at like lines that were set at the time. So I have Colts as minus 6.5.
Oh,
so I really and to me that matters a lot. Even when I wrote it up in the BP primer this week, because when you look at the Colts, dude, they don't beat teams by more than touchdown. Like that's like that was my issue with the hook at 7.5 with the Colts, even though it's like the Giants, they're absolutely terrible. Well, the Colts just don't. You look at so they're 7-5 in close games this year. 12 of their 15 games have been decided by 1 score. All of their wins have come by 1 score or less.
Oh, wow.
So yes, like 8 points does technically fall. So 7.5, like it's possible that you could be fine. But the fact that I could get a 6.5, like I don't know. I feel like I might even want to pay up for that a little bit too, just because the Colts just it doesn't matter who they play. Like they just don't beat teams by more than 1 score. So I think I'm kind of convincing myself to take the 6.5 here with the Colts, but I do like them obviously on this side. And I was surprised we didn't see a ton of line. I guess it moved a little bit with the Giant or with the Joe Flacco. I mean, because people know, like people know the truth. Like it doesn't really, it doesn't matter. Like Flacco's a more accurate quarterback, and they can win in different ways. So it does make at least these Colts receivers like interesting a little bit to actually like play some of their overs. But for me, the prop I like the most here is Tyrone Tracy, running back for the New York Giants. He used to play wide receiver at the college level before switching to running back. So he's a receiver at heart. And his last 2 games with Drew Lock, super involved in the passing game. 4.5 catches, 7 targets, 38 plus receiving yards in both of those games. He's averaged 16.5 receiving yards in 4 of his last 5 games played. And the last 5 running backs to face the Colts, gone over their receiving yards projection. So I'm in on a lot of these
Oh,
running
wow.
back receiving props this week. So Tyron Tracy for me, taking the over at, I believe, 16.5 receiving yards or 15.5, depending on where you can get the best number.
Yeah, that feels low. That feels like a really low number for Tracy, who had a great toe tap touchdown last week as well. So yeah, and I'm with you. I'm very interested to see why we didn't see any line movement here. Like I was expecting without Anthony Richardson, maybe we'd get a 6.5 out there, maybe a 7 for the Colts, but the books are not budging. Like I said, they might know the truth on that. Let's go ahead though. Let's pivot to the afternoon slate. We have the Miami Dolphins at the Cleveland Browns. Dave Njoku out. We also have Cedric Tillman out. Tua, doubtful, not expected to play. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, question marks. Looks like Waddle's going to try to go, but it seems very game time decision like. I already talked about it earlier this week. I have a Dolphins, Cleveland Browns under 40.5 ticket, minus 115 at FanDuel that I'm loving. Also part of our parlay of the week. This total has shrunk 7 points since placing that bet. And I still think like you're probably not getting invested, I think, with this overall total now, but maybe if you want the under Cleveland Browns, like 16.5 was what I saw earlier in the week for their team total. DTR in the games he started averaging just 9.6 points per game. So any interest maybe in that Browns team under or anything else in this game out there right now, Andrew? Is this just like, hey, I'm not watching this game. I'm not betting it either.
Yeah, I think if you're going to bet anything, got at the under, and again, the total value is gone at this point. Like we talked about it earlier, so hopefully this is like irrelevant. People's like, yep, I already got my under 39.5 ticket, and I feel great about it. Got that CLV, and let's hope that it pans out. Because again, like CLV is great, but you know what's better? Actually winning bets.
Yes.
So we'll see if it works out. I will say if you want to play in this game to kind of get on the under boat per se, it would be Jerome Ford under his rushing yards, 57.5. Miami's been really good against the run. The last 9 running backs Miami has faced have all finished under their rushing yards projection. 9. Jerome Ford had 3 carries in the first half last week. So I like the under here.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Also appreciate in the chat. We got Phil saying Seth has some excellent soccer picks. I know this isn't this is the wrong form, but I usually win. Well, I appreciate that, Phil. That's great to know that you're tailing those soccer picks. Soccer's still kind of a new sport. I'm getting into the betting side of over the last couple of years. So glad to see that that's panning out for you. We're a jack of all here at Betting Pros. We're doing a little bit of everything. If there's a sport on, we're going to find some way to bet on it for sure. Let's go ahead, though. Let's shift to what's going to be a really fun game this afternoon. The Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. Christian Watson, questionable. You have a boatload of props you like for this game, Erickson, and you were also joining me on the over 48.5. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, this is where you want to invest all your time into in the late window because it's Cleveland and Miami, and then this game. This game is going to be awesome. I'm super excited for this game. I think for me, it's you want Jordan Love and you want to bring his pass catcher. So if you're doing some SGP action, it's like Love over, Reed over, Wicks, like all the overs you can get because the Vikings are the one team that is going to unlock volume from this Packers passing game. Something that we've just been dying for having because all these receivers get 4 targets every single week and it's super frustrating. But with no Watson, you're going to see the condensed target share. I think around Wicks, I think around Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs. So to me, I think the easiest way to approach it is like Jordan Love over his passing yards. Just take that because I think he's probably going to hit 300 passing yards. The last 5 of the 6 last quarterbacks the Vikings have faced this year have gone over their passing yards projection by an average of 92 yards. So I think that he's going to fly over this number. Again, the only time he's done 300 yards this year was against the Minnesota Vikings. Like he's already done it this season. So, and that was when he was banged up with a groin injury or his knee injury, like one of the several things he was dealing with to start the year. So I'm very much in on the Jordan Love stuff. So I think that the easy way is just, hey, take the over on his passing yards prop.
Yeah.
But I know Welsh talked about alting it up to 300.
300, yeah.
And then, you know, if you're doing pick'ems with you need to make multiple plays, you're looking for some correlation. It's these Packers receivers, man. Like that's what I like going towards. So if you want to have some fun, that's how I would do it. But I think that's the easy bet to make along with the game total going over is a Jordan Love passing yards prop. And if you do really want just like another simple one, it'd be Aaron Jones anytime touchdown. Like he's facing his old team. He didn't score the last time he faced the Green Bay Packers. And they gave him I think it was 10 red zone touches. Like they were doing whatever they could to try to get him a touchdown. He didn't score. So I would be very surprised unless this game gets out of hand where the Packers just blow out the Vikings, which I don't think that's the case, but I like their offense. Aaron Jones is probably going to score a touchdown here. So that could be something simple. 2-game parlay between Jones touchdown and Jordan Love over his passing yards prop.
Okay. Yeah, really susceptible passing defenses, good run defenses. So really like playing Jordan Love wherever I can get him this week. And Packers have scored over 30 points in 5 straight games. Vikings also averaging 30.5 points over that same 5-game span. So over there, let's hope for points there. And let's go ahead and round out the show with Sunday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons at the Washington Commanders. Dyami Brown, the only notable inactive in this game, he'll be out for the Commanders. You liked the Commanders, I believe, earlier this week, -4. You can now get them -3.5. So I imagine you're all over that.
Yeah, I love the Washington Commanders here playing at home. Look, they've been a team that's taken care of business against inferior opponents for the most part. I think the Falcons are a very inferior opponent. And I had not got the official word from Trell Furman if he's also on the Commanders here. I just assume that he is because I know that he is the biggest fader of the Atlanta Falcons and how fake they are. Maybe he's changed his tune a little bit. Don't want me to put words into his mouth. But even with Michael Penix, I don't think that this game is going to be like a shootout. I think that this game total under is probably the best bet to make as well when it comes to looking at it from a totals perspective. 46.5 is a lot for, I mean, again, just zooming out, rookie quarterback making his first start on the road.
Yeah.
They're only getting a field goal and a half against the guy who's going to win offensive rookie of the year, who's already been he's been in the flames. Like, he was so amazing last week. Michael Penix didn't really have to do that much to win last week, right? What would this line be if it was just Kirk Cousins? And Kirk Cousins could have done exactly what Michael Penix did last week. No touchdowns, throws an interception, but his defense got 2 pick sixes. So I just think that the Falcons here are just being way overvalued after they destroyed the Giants, which, hey, that's what happens to everything. Everyone destroys the Giants. So along with the Colts -6.5, which I'm now 100% on, yes, going to fade the Atlanta Falcons here. Give me the Commanders playing at home. Jaden Daniels just going to continue to show out.
Yeah, man. Jaden Daniels just proving everyone how good this guy is, not only at the pro level, but we've seen LSU really fall off at the collegiate level this year too. And Brian Kelly kind of has his handful down there with all these guys opting out of the transfer portal. So it's kind of a mess there. And Jaden Daniels proving why he was a first round pick, and why his receivers, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. also belonged in that conversation. So great talk here on Sunday with you, Erickson. I appreciate you breaking down your best bets with us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in with the chat as well. That's going to do it for us today on the BP NFL live stream. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. Plus, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and the podcast feed, and download the Betting Pros app. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Seth Woolcock. Good luck in Week 17, everyone. Thank you.